බිස්කට් වේදිකාවට දැන් පැමිණි සීග්‍රගාමී රසේ මංචි පොටේටෝ ක්‍රැකර්. බිස්කට් වේදිකාවට දැන් පැමිණි සීග්‍රගාමී රසේ මංචි පොටේටෝ ක්‍රැකර්.
On satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
New territory. Former Minister MP Vijaydas Rajapaksa and the former president seen together. Sick of it. Deputy Minister Harvey de Silva laments the current state of country's politics. Sri Lankan struggles. CEO of the national carrier bemoans profit distribution. And from the international arena, here comes Harvey. Hurricane batters US state of Texas. And in sports, optimism. Standing skipper Kapil hopeful of a win tomorrow against India despite 2 losses. Bringing you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katharina Chang. Now starting off with the top story tonight, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa alleges the parliament itself and the courts were deceived when the local authorities election amendment bill was passed yesterday. He made his claims to media upon his arrival at the Bellanvilla Rajamaha last night. Former Minister of Justice and Buddha Sasana Vijaydas Rajapaksa was also seen at the event.
The 66th Asala procession of the Bellanvilla Rajamaha took to the street last night, and before the event, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa called on the Mahasangha. The former president then addressed media.
It's completely wrong. The right of public servants to engage in politics can't be denied. There are public servants among Pradesh Sabha members. That right they had is suddenly no more. This is wrong according to the constitution and cunning because they know they will lose the elections. This is because they're scared of losing elections.
Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs Dr. Harvey de Silva laments the current state of the country's politics, saying he is fed up with theft, corruption and fraud. The Deputy Minister touched on the topic responding to questions raised by media following an event held in Kotte this morning.
This is a corrupt environment. We can see theft, corruption and fraud everywhere. This should be stopped. When all our time is spent to control corruption, how can we find time for development and policies? All questions on the country's politics relate to theft and corruption. Speaking devoid of party politics, this is the true state of the country.
මේ රටේ තියෙන ගැටලුව.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමා ඉල්ලා අස්සනවා කියලා තියෙනවද?
නෑ මම ඉල්ලා අස්සනවා කිව්වේ නැහැ.
I didn't say I would resign. I'm not a person who depends on politics. What I want to do is develop the country by making contributions with my knowledge.
ධෛර්යය දීලා මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්න.
Chairman of the Public Representations Committee on Constitutional Reform, Lal Vijayanaka, emphasises that the proposed constitution is not one that is being drafted behind closed doors. He made the remark at a public awareness program on constitutional reform held at the Mathura District Secretariat yesterday.
This time it is not a constitution which is drafted by one particular party. All of the committees pertaining to the proposed constitution consist of members representing different parties. The Constitutional Assembly commenced its work by passing this proposal, so no one can say it is being drafted behind closed doors. People might get misguided by listening to those who talk on political platforms.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has decided to file contempt charges against Deputy Minister of Social Empowerment, Welfare and Kandyan Heritage, Ranjan Ramanayaka. The President of the Bar Association, Attorney at Law U.R. De Silva, said the association took the decision following a statement made by the Deputy Minister, which it viewed as insulting towards attorneys and judges.
The monthly committee meeting of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka was held today. Everyone agreed with the statement we issued over Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka's criticism of the legal community and assertion that judges are corrupt and cause the country harm. They went on to say that measures should be taken regarding the issue immediately. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka is taking measures because stating that the legal community and judges are corrupt challenges the rule of law. Therefore, it was unanimously decided to file a petition against Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka.
Minister of Health and Indigenous Medicine and Nutrition, Dr. Rajiv Gandhi, says his ministry has taken steps to appoint a psychologist to hospitals in every district of the country. The minister made the revelation at the International Conference on Applied Psychology organised by the Colombo Institute of Research and Psychology.
Yesterday marked the first day of the International Conference on Applied Psychology in Colombo. The ceremony was attended by Minister of Health and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajiv Gandhi, visiting Professor Martin Seligman, Professor Graham Turpin and other psychologists, researchers, academics and students.
We have seen a steady expansion in national mental health facilities, providing equitable mental health or psychiatric care. This is being achieved through the establishment of mental health units or psychiatric units in government health facilities countrywide. So we have already decided, our ministry, to appoint at least one psychologist to each division to the peak hospital in one district. The psychologist and the psychiatrist can work together to actually fulfill the people's beliefs. However, I believe psychological service delivery needs further strengthening.
Former LTT cadre AG Payroll, who was among those convicted for the assassination of former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, was granted 30-day parole on Thursday night by the government of Tamil Nadu.
The order comes a month after Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Edappadi Palanisamy said that a parole request would be considered following an appeal from legislators. Former Indian Premier Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated by a suicide bomber at an election rally in Sri Perumbudur on the 21st of May 1991. Perarivalan along with 3 others were convicted in 1998 for the assassination and were sentenced to death by hanging.
Apartment blocks, office buildings as well as various other structures pop up in the city of Colombo, adding character to a once monotonous skyline. There, however, is one construction which dwarfs not only those in Colombo but those in South Asia as well. Standing at 350 meters in height, the Colombo Lotus Tower is just that and is said to be the tallest structure in the region. First at 9 took a look at the current progress of its construction.
With the changing times, modern marvels have succeeded in capturing the attention of tourists alongside old iconic symbols around the world. Burj Khalifa and Palm Islands in Dubai, the Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, and the One World Trade Center in New York City have come to be known as iconic symbols. People from all across the world flock to these cities each year, and the buildings earn millions of dollars in revenue. Construction on the Colombo Lotus Tower began in 2012 with the goal of establishing a modern-day tourist icon within Sri Lanka.
One of the main revenue sources for Lotus Tower is tourism. Now this project aims to open the tourism industry of Sri Lanka to those who are interested in local history, culture as well as modern-day marvels.
With a design inspired by the lotus flower symbolizing purity within Sri Lankan culture and flourishing development, the tower will stand at a height of 350 meters, covering 30,600 square meters of floor area. It will be used for communication, observation and other leisure activities over the Colombo skyline, creating a modern tourist experience for locals and foreigners alike. It will consist of a telecommunications museum, exhibition halls, restaurants, a 1,000-seat auditorium, luxury hotel rooms, large ballrooms and an observation gallery. Lotus Tower is based on a conceptual design proposed by the Department of Architecture of the University of Moratuwa. In an exclusive with First at 9, Senior Professor of the University of Moratuwa, Samitha Manawadu, spoke about the ongoing construction.
At the moment, of course, we have completed 95% of the superstructure and then about 70% of the overall program. And what is left at the moment is only the finishing works, and it is being started from the top. Now you can see the petals are being installed. Gradually they are coming down, but some of the petals could not be installed at the moment because there's an obstruction of the tower crane, which will be dismantled from the beginning of next month. After that, that portion also could be completed. And then other interior works like floor finishing, the pillars, ceiling, and all these finishing works are yet to be done.
The $104.3 million project is funded by the Exim Bank of China and is slated for completion within the year.
The project was to be completed by 31st October 2017, but due to various reasons like climatic and most of the reasons were beyond our control, the project will be completed by 31st March 2018. And then the owners of the project, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, has already indicated to the others by the Director General's comments, this will be open to the public from the April 2018.
Colombo Lotus Tower currently stands at a height of 340 meters and is a ubiquitous sight across the Colombo skyline as well as its suburbs and most major highways.
Putting humanity to the forefront in an effort to combat kidney disease rampant in many parts of the country, the 27th phase of the Manusaddarana National Initiative commenced in Polonnaruwa today.
Under the 27th phase of the Manusaddarana National Initiative, a health camp commenced today at the Nuwaragala Central College in Polonnaruwa. Area residents flocked to the clinic, which focused on identifying possible cases of early-stage kidney disease as well as providing residents with medical advice. The Polonnaruwa District Health Service Directorate, the District Kidney Disease Prevention Unit and the Aralagangvilla Medical Office of Health lent a hand to Manusaddarana with the initiative. Sedum Laboratories and the Leesons Hospital of Ragama also assisted in carrying out clinical testing.
On lighter note, Comic Con International was born in San Diego in 1970 when a group of comic, movie and science fiction enthusiasts banded together to create the first comic book convention. Today, Sri Lanka commenced its third Comic Con managed by the Lanka Comic Con Trust with the mission of promoting science fiction and fantasy writers and artists both here and abroad. Founded by members of the Geek Club of Sri Lanka and supported by the US Embassy, Lanka Comic Con 2017 will conclude tomorrow.
The US Embassy to Sri Lanka awarded a grant of $13,800 to support Lanka Comic Con 2017, and the event saw the participation of former DC Comics editor Joanne Hilty as a subject matter expert and speaker. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Atul Keshav was also in attendance, and he addressed the crowd of enthusiasts today.
Why does Superman wear his underpants on the outside of his costume? I want you to think about what that answer might be. The important thing about this gathering is that everyone here shares an appreciation for the power of imagination. Imagination is the fuel for the future of humankind. We believe in creativity. We believe in the independence of the human spirit. We believe in fundamental human rights. We believe that if young people can achieve their full potential, the world will be a better place. You guys can imagine a world where we don't have to pollute the environment to maintain a high standard of living. Superman, my friends, wears his underpants on the outside to show you that he is different. And he is not afraid to be seen as different, and nor are you.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
A father and son were hacked to death during a clash between two families in Minuwangoda, Gampaha today. The Minuwangoda police say the deadly clash was accumulation of a dispute which arose among the children of the two families while they were flying kites last evening. A father and son, as well as a 70-year-old neighbour, were arrested over the murders. An individual was arrested in Jaila while transporting 1,100 bottles of alcoholic spirits used for the production of illicit liquor. He was taken into custody after a raid carried out by the Special Operations Unit of the Excise Department following a tip-off. Residents around the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya engaged in a protest in front of the residence of the trustee of the Devalaya. The protest was over the recent clash between the trustee and the shamans of the Devalaya. Derana was able to uncover an illegal sand and soil mining operation in parts of the Daduruya Reserve as well as dried up areas of Daduruya. Area residents say a vast amount of sand and soil is mined and carried away by several tipper trucks each day.
Welcome back to the news. Hurricane Harvey slammed into the US state of Texas last night with winds of up to 215 kilometers per hour, battering coastal areas, bringing life-threatening winds and the livelihoods of catastrophic flooding. The storm is the most powerful to hit the US mainland in 12 years after Hurricane Wilma in Florida.
Hurricane Harvey made landfall at around 10 p.m. local time as a Category 4 storm, bringing high winds, heavy rains and cutting off power to over 200,000 people. Up to 1 meter of rain is expected to fall, and storm surges of up to 4 meters are expected over the next few days. Meteorologists have warned that Harvey could continue to cause rain until the middle of next week. Forecasters say the storm's path is uncertain, but it is expected to be near or just inland of the central part of the Texas coast.
US President Donald Trump signed a memorandum directing the US military not to accept transgender men and women as recruits. Yesterday's directive reinstates a ban which had been lifted under Trump's predecessor Barack Obama and has been slammed by rights activists who vow legal action.
The ban was widely anticipated following tweets made last month by US President Donald Trump, who justified the ban on grounds of cost and disruption. Trump has left Defense Secretary James Mattis to decide whether to retain existing transgender recruits. The memo also holds the use of government funds for gender reassignment surgery for active personnel. Between 400 and 10,000 Americans in active duty and reserve service are believed to be transgender.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
North Korea fired 3 short-range ballistic missiles early today, 2 of which flew about 250 kilometers in a northeasterly direction. The US military said the latest test did not threaten the US or Guam, despite warnings of attack by North Korea. The launches come less than a week after North Korea was praised by US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson for showing restraint in its weapons program. Thai politicians today revealed that former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has fled to Dubai after missing a negligence ruling in which she faced up to 10 years in prison. Senior members of a political party say Yingluck left Thailand last week and flew via Singapore to Dubai. A suicide bombing and a gun attack at a Shiite Muslim mosque in the Afghan capital Kabul killed at least 30 people, including worshippers gathering for prayers yesterday. So-called Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack.
Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines, Captain Suren Ratwatta, says the national carrier is struggling because its profits are distributed among a wide base of stakeholders in the aviation sector. He made the remarks speaking at a promotional event yesterday.
Airlines, who are the linchpin in the whole travel industry, don't make any money. Everybody else does. The aircraft manufacturer, the engine manufacturer, the maintenance guys, the travel agents, the airports. Airports are very profitable. Everybody in the food chain makes money. And by the time they've all done that, there's nothing left for us. Even some of the biggest and best airlines in the world, the Cathay Pacific, Singapore Airlines, Emirates, Etihad, are struggling right now because unfortunately the yield gets distributed so widely to so many other people that we have to do something to arrest that and stop it.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, revealed 3 frameworks pertaining to macroeconomic policy that the government will soon implement. He made the revelation at the induction and graduation ceremony of the Institution of Engineers of Sri Lanka held at the BMICH yesterday.
1, it has revenue enhancement-based fiscal consolidation program because our revenue had fallen quite drastically. The idea is to build up revenue and to bring the budget deficit down to about 3.5% of GDP. The target for this year is 4.6, but that could be exceeded for good reasons because the government is having to spend more money on drought relief and flood relief.
Dr. Kumaraswamy then revealed the second framework based on monetary policy.
We are going into what is known as a flexible inflation targeting regime. What that means is we will have we do already have an inflation target of keeping inflation between 4 and 6%. And interest rates will be set to keep inflation within that range. We have to set interest rates today for what we think inflation is going to be 6-12 months down the road.
The CBSL governor also spoke about the third framework, which is based on the country's exchange rate policy.
Historically, we've always had an overvalued exchange rate because our inflation has tended to be high, which means our costs are going up faster than those of our competitors and trading partners. And the only way you can compensate for that, there are 2 ways. 1 is to depreciate the currency, and 2 is to increase productivity. Productivity increases are not easy, and also the inflation differential has been relatively high, and therefore you couldn't drive productivity enough to make up for it. So we needed to have depreciated the currency. But in the past, what we tried to do was to hold the currency stable by spending our scarce foreign reserves. And we will have a more flexible exchange rate policy. And if we can keep inflation steady, as I said, between 4 and 5% or so, then the pressure on the exchange rate will be relatively less, and hopefully that means the pressure on the currency will be relatively less.
Taking a look at the aviation sector abroad, the UK's airline industry could see a 40% loss of passengers due to Brexit if the government fails to reach a new aviation deal with the European Union before October 2018. Now, a recent report commissioned by leading British airports from the Westminster Policy Institute urges the British government to start negotiating a post-Brexit aviation deal with the EU as soon as possible.
Is that without an early guarantee, EU citizens' withdrawal from the UK after Brexit alone could seriously cut back the passenger number after March 2019. It adds that in the following year, almost half of the air-scheduled travellers could change their plans due to uncertainty in routes.
Without the EU Open Skies agreement, then British Airlines will not be able to fly between European airports, and they may not even be able to fly to European airports.
Starting off with cricket news tonight, the third one-day international between Sri Lanka and visitors India will be played at the Pallekele International Stadium tomorrow. Speaking at the pre-match media briefing, stand-in skipper Chamara Kapugedara said that he is optimistic about Sri Lanka's prospects in tomorrow's game despite the previous two losses.
The Sri Lanka cricket team's limited over captain Upul Taranga was handed a two-match ban for the team's slow over rate in the second ODI against India on Thursday. Chamara Kapugedara was given the responsibility of leading the team in Taranga's absence.
We haven't actually finalized the team, so we are still looking at options.
And your statement says Tilman and Nasima's basis for tomorrow's game is not yet sure. Does it mean like that way?
No, it's not like that. I said we haven't finalized anything. After last game, we have that belief that we can win. We only need one hurdle. Just have to somehow go up with that and win.
There was a lot of hope when you made your debut at the age of 18. Looking back 12 years on, do you think that you have done justice to your potential?
I'm not here to look at my past, just that what I'm going to do tomorrow.
See, the Sri Lanka team is right now kind of struggling. So, how do the younger players, who do they look for motivation in the dressing room?
I don't know whether we are struggling. There's a good atmosphere.
After a massive defeat in the first day night test against England, the West Indies dominated the first day of the second test, bowling England out for 258 despite a counter-attacking century by England all-rounders Ben Stokes. Despite dropping several catches during the day and losing a wicket late on, the much-improved West Indies went into day two trailing by only 239 runs.
After a dismal showing at Edgbaston, the West Indies bowled menacingly early on at Headingley, with Kemar Roach and Shannon Gabriel snaring 4 wickets each. With Alistair Cook falling early, none of the new players were able to make their case for Ashes selection. Ben Stokes came in at 71 for 4 and led England's resurgence along with skipper Joe Root. Root fell for 59, equalling a world record for half-centuries or better in 12 consecutive tests, but Stokes powered on. Stokes was dropped twice, but made it to 3 figures before his eventual dismissal led to England closing their innings at 258. The tourists, however, lost the wicket of Kieran Powell before ending the day 239 runs behind.
In the bucket hands of Alistair Cook.
Weeks after the record sale of Neymar to Paris Saint-Germain for €222 million, Barcelona have made Dortmund ace Ousmane Dembélé the second most expensive player in the world. The Catalan club announced the signing of the 20-year-old France international yesterday for €105 million plus add-ons.
Barcelona's efforts to replace Neymar following his world record move to Paris Saint-Germain have finally borne fruit, with one of their top targets, Ousmane Dembélé, agreeing to leave Borussia Dortmund. Having failed to agree terms with Liverpool for Philippe Coutinho, Barcelona will see their squad strengthened by Dembélé's arrival at the new camp tomorrow, with his medical examination scheduled for Monday. Dembélé scored 10 goals and provided 21 assists for Dortmund last season, and his contract with Barcelona will have a whopping €400 million release clause.
Let's cross over to Shenla Fernando at the other Derana Weather Centre with the forecast for the next 24 hours.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Starting off with your temperatures, the evening holds a mixed bag with 20 to 35 degrees Celsius expected over the next 24 hours. Fairly strong winds can be expected over the country, particularly in over north central and northwestern provinces, as well as Matale, Ampara and Hambantota districts. Several spells of light showers may occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. Up next is your city-by-city forecast.
Now, before we go, we'd like to take you to the Lanka Comic Con, featuring comics and showcasing fantasy and science fiction writers and artists. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Providing news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.